Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Parker, and today I'd like to discuss with you the rationale for and use of the Parker Flexit stylet. The first thing I want to do is review the stylets that are frequently used in intubation to curve the tube. Uh, a commonly used stylet is the Mallinckrodt satin slip stylet, which goes into the tube before the intubation, and then the tube is curved into a hockey stick, so-called hockey stick configuration. The purpose of this is to allow you to get the tube around the airway curvature and get it started through the larynx and started to go down the trachea. But you'll notice that after the tube passes over the airway curvature and starts down into the larynx, we want to go straight down the trachea, but the tube is still curved. And if I push on this tube, it will not go down the trachea. This has happened to me many times, and in order to get the tube to go down the trachea, I actually need to pull the stylet out of the tube. I'd like for you to see what happens when I try to extract the stylet from the tube in order to get the tube to slide down the straight trachea. As I pull the stylet out of the tube, there's a whiplash of the tip of the tube against the tracheal wall and against the underside of the vocal cords if the tube has already passed through those cords. So what this does is to traumatize the trachea and the vocal cords. It's a very traumatic procedure, and many times when I've intubated patients and I've performed this procedure, it actually pulls the tube out of the patient's airway and I have to start all over again from scratch. The Parker Flexit stylet is designed to eliminate all of those problems. And here's how it works. We put this into the tube, slide it forward in the tube. You notice that it doesn't change the curvature of the tube at all to begin with. Then we can start the intubation, holding the tube in the mid-shaft of the tube, and if we don't need to curve it, we don't curve it. But if we decide that we need a little bit of extra curvature on the tube, you notice that just by pressing the thumb button, I can cause the tip of the tube to flex a little bit or a lot if I need a lot of curvature. But once I get the tube curved and started down into the airway, I don't have to extract the stylet from the tube. I can just release the thumb pressure and the tube goes back to its normal curvature so that it can slide down the trachea, the straight trachea, and then when I go to remove the stylet, it comes out easily, and I want you to see what happens to the tip of the tube now when I pull the stylet out. Nothing happens to the tip. There's no whiplash against the tracheal wall, and also no trauma to the vocal cords, and there is no danger of accidentally pulling the tube out of the trachea. This technique with the stylet can be used with any kind of endotracheal tube, either a tube with a standard tip or a tube with a Parker Flex tip. You'll notice that in operating the Flexit stylet, the tube is held at the rear end and the thumb button activates the curvature of the tube. However, some of our customers have told us that they would prefer to be able to hold the tube at its midsection because this gives them more control over the tube and allows finer, more accurate placement of the tube. We have listened to our customers and we have developed a new improved version of the stylet that will allow them to do this. Our customers now have the choice of whether to use our standard stylet or the new improved stylet, which, by the way, now has patents pending on it. I would like to show you how the new stylet operates in the tube. The new stylet has ratchet teeth applied to the stem so that when we insert the stylet into the tube and we press on the thumb button, we can get the tube to lock on any one of these ratchet teeth and give us the tube curvature that we desire. then the tube may be held at its midsection and it still retains its curvature, so that the tube can be placed around the oral airway curvature and into the larynx to get the tube started. Then the intubationist can reach up to the top of the tube and simply press the flange against the stem. That releases the flange from the ratchet teeth. I'd like for you to watch what happens to the tip of the tube as I pull the stylet out. Remember that the tube is now in the trachea, and as I pull the stylet out of the tube, there is no whiplash of the tip of the tube against the tracheal wall, as you saw with the malleable metal stylet that is so commonly used. The stylet comes out of the tube very easily, and there is no trauma to the trachea. One other benefit to our Flexit stylets is that, unlike malleable metal stylets, our stylets are approved by the FDA for facilitating blind nasal intubation, and I'd like to show you how that works. If you want to go through the nose to get into the trachea, you can either put the stylet in to the tube like this and pre-curve the tube so that you can hold the tube in mid-shaft and have it slide down the nose, after which you reach up and disengage the stylet, which causes the tube to return to its normal curvature. Or you can leave the flange off of the stylet to begin with, and actually, as you go down the nose, you can simply curve the tube and then release the thumb pressure so that the tube goes back to its normal curvature. So in other words, you have a choice. You can either pre-lock the curvature of the tube, or you can simply curve the tube as you go down the nasal airway. I hope that you like these new stylets, and if you have any questions or suggestions for us concerning these stylets, I would be glad to talk to you. Thank you very much for watching this video.